welcome here. I mean, I want to say it's an honor to be talking to you, but I think we should just explain like how we actually got into having this conversation at all. Because really, 72 hours ago, I didn't think that we were going to be able to even meet in person, much less you being here. I mean, this is kind of crazy, and this just explains what the world has been like to me coming into this entire Web3 ecosystem. You know.
It's actually really interesting because I do actually think that the fact that we met barely 72 hours ago, right, and then it turns out that we started talking and it turns out that we had all these previous connections, right? We knew so many people in common, but we met through the completely random world of Web3.
Exactly.
Think about it, right? Think about how crazy that is.
Well, no, I mean, to even add on to that is that we met 72 hours ago in person, but we had met talking online previously for a few weeks even before that. But even that, it's just like completely different worlds compared to, spending here 20 years in Silicon Valley. And then the connections that we have in Silicon Valley, very much in the Web2, even co-founders of companies that I've started before. Like, these people are people like all that I've known for like the last 20 years. And then the way that we met is crazy.
And the fact that, we just hang out here and you're just doing this conversation, I feel like it's actually very representative of how I think things work in this new world of crypto, right? It's actually a lot more about like finding that silver of collaboration. Right, and just exploring, going along those lines. It's much less along. I feel like we both been in the valley for a while now, right? And the crazy thing is that in the valley, right, it's considered very informal, right? Compared to like traditional like Fortune 500 NMCs and everything, right? But I think what you see, right, in the crypto is like it's even more informal, right? We make multi-million-dollar deals of a Telegram chat, right? We establish relationships, we hop on the spaces, and then here we are talking about stuff, right? Right? Crypto really democratizes the creation of money, right? And the creation of assets, right? It's like you no longer need the government to make money, and no longer need the Nasdaq to make an asset, right? You no longer need CME to make it a liquid tradable commodity, right? You can actually make all these things like, I don't know, it's crazy. It's like, as long as you have a group of people who want it, and the crazy thing is bro, it doesn't even need to be that big of a group of people. It's like, a couple hundred guys set an AMM pool and they go bang, there's an asset.
I mean, that's the exciting thing about Web3. And I mean, I'm still, I would say relatively new, or old and new, but 3 months in, right? But I mean, I thought that at some point at the end of Web2, even starting from 15 years, you started creating things like YouTube. And we were talking about it with the slogan of democratizing content, democratizing the content creativity, content distribution. So anybody, it comes down to just raw talent. It doesn't matter whose phone you have in Hollywood or whose distribution network you have access to. As long as you have good content, you can upload your content to YouTube and it's completely democratized that the people themselves are gonna watch, and if they like your content, they're gonna share the content.
You said this really, really, really interesting thing, right? You said something about how like, the value of YouTube wasn't created by you. It was created by the users.
That is so interesting, right? Because I think that I'm not, this is just outright being honest rather than humble. It's actually honest in that, like, if you put yourself in my shoes and you get these content creators that are well known by millions of subscribers around the world on YouTube, right, with their channels and with the content that they're doing, and it's their full-time job. It's creating content on YouTube.
It's more than a full-time job, bro. It's an obsession. It's a passion. It's an obsession. It's a full-time job. It's their life,
And there needs to be gratitude towards them. They think it's like, oh, without YouTube, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm passionate about, creating content and making money off of it. But the same is true. The reverse is true, which is, without the content creators, YouTube is just a bunch of servers, right? I mean, nobody's even gonna go to that domain. It's because of these content creators and that they're regularly updating their subscribers with more and more content. That's what makes the value. So, and ultimately, I wanna say the third party, there's also the actual advertisers that's actually paying for this content. Without this whole ecosystem in place, YouTube wouldn't be able to keep living.
It's actually really, really interesting, right? Because I mean, you're obviously one of the pioneers of this thing called UGC, right? User-generated content. And then what we are seeing now, right, in this space is what I call, like UGM, right? User-generated money, right? So in user-generated content, right, it's like the value is created from the users. Right? And then in Web3 or crypto, right, the value is generated from the users too. In some sense, we in UGC, right, we move from an era by like the big studios, right? The big studios create the content.
Yeah.
They monetize the content, right? And they get the value from the content.
Yeah.
So what you did, right, is that you democratize the process, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You took and you allowed users to kind of to incentivize you to create that content, market the content too, right? Right? So it's very interesting and also get the value of the content.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, think about it. It's actually really interesting, right? Because, for example, if you're Netflix, right, you have to make it and you have to actually distribute yourself. You have to go and run advertising. I mean, advertising all over the world, man. It's crazy because you go to anywhere right, across the world, right? Japan, Tokyo, Europe, you see this in the Netflix advertisements everywhere, right? But then what we were talking about this, right? We were talking about the fact that like the users are the ones that market their own content.
Yeah.
Right? And same thing, and what we are seeing, right, in this crypto world, right, is that the users, are the one who are like generating the money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Marketing the money.
Yeah.
Right? And getting the value of the money. I mean, there's a lot of nuances there, right? I'll get to, right, in a bit, right, about how, and some of it not very nice, but generally speaking, I think it's fascinating because I think part of the reason why I think, why we think it'd be such a fun thing to have this conversation, right, is because we are really at the nexus, right, of like UGC.
Yes.
And UGM, you see what I'm saying?
And I think that it's so
super
interesting because
yeah.
I think that depends on who the viewers are, right? But if they were there, and not many people were users of YouTube back in 2005, 2006, right?
You might be surprised.
but at that point, when you were saying you were democratizing content, that's fine. That's a great slogan. But then when you were actually comparing to, say, what you were watching on subscription cable networks, on DirecTV, on HBO channels, you're like, there is no way that user-generated content is going to get to this level because it was still 2-minute, 3-minute, 4-minute videos. They were even the iPhone wasn't around that time, and it was just users themselves uploading videos that they took themselves, edited themselves, post-edited themselves, and then uploaded and shared themselves, right? But now you have entire teams that are actually behind this content. Crazy. And now in 2024, you're actually seeing like UGC content. I think with this idea of democratizing it, you're really being able to bring in global talent from all over the world. You don't have to live in Hollywood to be able to create this content. And I think that's what attracts me to the Web3 world, is that I still think in many ways, like you kind of briefly mentioned and hinted at, there are still pitfalls. There are still holes along the way. It's not perfect. It's not as easy as, for example, in some ways, I don't know, you walk into a bank and you set up this stuff because they've been doing it for hundreds of years. But I think that we're essentially at the beginning of what we started seeing with the user-generated content world.
Precisely, yeah.
And
precisely.
It's going to catch up.
It will catch up. So actually, it's so fascinating to say that because, when you democratize things, right? It's how it works, right? I'm saying, like when you make things easy and fun, like every democratization access that happened, right? When it's even like reading. Right? Like, I bet there's some guy. Are you sure you want those peasants to read? I'm quite sure that happened. Right? Saying, right now, what if they start reading and start having all these ideas?
Yeah.
It's a real thing, right? It's like wow, you allow people to publish things. What the hell is going on?
Yeah.
I feel like when you let people, when you let a whole range of people do stuff.
Yeah.
Right? The ups and downs, right? I'm saying you're going to, the world is going to be messier. The content produced or the money produced is going to be messier, and there's going to be a lot more like there's going to be scams and whatever not, right? Yeah. But I think it's all part of like making creation accessible, right? You mentioned earlier about how like when you got all these big studios, right? Yeah. Produce content, right? How about this? Think of same thing, right? Who used to produce money? Right? Governments, right? Governments used to be able to only produce money, right? So we are the source of money. We only produce money and stuff, right? And then what's happening now is that anyone can start creating money, right? If you are able to create something, and recently the technical barrier of creating money is so fucking low. Yeah. It's insane, right? And you can rally enough like support behind it and stuff. Yeah. It's crazy. You literally have tokens that like assets that go to billions. Yeah. Right? You know what I'm saying? Right. And that's crazy on Memecoin, right? So I think beyond in the earlier stages of UGM, right, there needs to be Bitcoin. You need to have a Bitcoin or DeFi. Yeah. Right? And then with what you see in Memecoins is kind of crazy, right? It's like you don't even need all that stuff. You just need an idea.
But I think and it keeps refreshing in my mind because I think that there's going to be still plenty of hurdles that's not even has been yet encountered in the UGM world. Like UGC, like in order for even the market makers, the content creators to make this market an actual market, you need to start making money. To make money on it, you need basically nobody was used to this. There was, I don't know if people know, there was like a $1 billion Viacom lawsuit because people are uploading Comedy Central videos onto YouTube. True, you have stuff with Universal Music, EMI, Sony BMG, because people don't know that they don't have distribution rights for some CD that they buy, but they put it on the video thinking that they have access to be able to use this. No, you don't have access to music. But I think that these are just some of the hurdles, especially for a huge generational leap in terms of content creation.
Let's talk about this because it's actually amazing. Because let's talk pajamas, right? It's so funny because with every big progression, right? Of like we see, right? We see this inevitable kind of conflict, right? Between what is existing ideas, right? With new ideas, right? You know what I'm saying? In your case, right? Say when YouTube started and stuff, right? You had all this content that was created, like by all these big studios, right? And people were like, so the people created, uploaded them, right? And the Web3 were seeing something very similar, right? Let's take Pajamas for example, right? Pajamas is.
Yeah, so Pajamas is.
Let's introduce the people.
I think I should introduce is like Pajamas. The most important thing is my ticket to entry into the Web3 world.
Wait. Who is Pajamas?
So Pajamas is a.
Is your cat?
So Pajamas is two things to me in my life nowadays, right? The strange story is that it's both the name of the meme token, but then the name of my cat, the cat that I had, and the first cat video ever uploaded to YouTube, right? And this was 15 years ago. That was exactly it just passed its 15th anniversary in terms of one of the first videos uploaded. But most importantly, I was getting invited to be able to go speak at these cat conventions around the world to go talk about, because it created this huge community of just pet lovers, and they've been uploading videos, and then they pay respects to the first cat video. Now, it's not a great cat video, but nevertheless, it's the first
OG fucking cat video, right?
And so, but then that was how I entered, and then all of a sudden, everybody started talking about on one day on Twitter, mentioning pajamas out of the blue, like pajamas. But then they started talking about also within the same tweet, things about Web3 and things about the meme space. That's what got me interested in it. And so I wasn't the one behind the actual token itself, but this cat that I uploaded 15 years ago was the reason that I started getting into it.
It's amazing, right? Because someone created a token, right? That's an asset, right? And you had no input in that.
Yes.
Right? They didn't need your input. They didn't need your input on that, right? Isn't it interesting how we think about it, right? And we live in a world where anyone can tokenize essentially an idea, right?
Yeah.
The thing, right? Then there's no quote unquote permission to that stuff. It's just like, okay, it's an idea. There are hundreds of Trump tokens around, right? And you know what happened after the recent attempt, the recent thing? There was a year token,
Yeah.
A year token, right? It's like we are entering the world where ideas get tokenized. And it's funny because we back 20 years ago, right? Everything was about copyright.
Yeah.
Right, it's about copyright, but over here we're going to work. Okay, you know what? It's almost like a recognition, right? That ideas are just ideas, right? And no one entity can actually kind of capture, can kind of say this is my idea, right? So any for pajamas. So it's your cat 15 years ago, OG cat. But I'm actually fascinated by this story, by the way, right? So someone created a token and stuff, and then it was a CTO, it was a community takeover or something?
It was, but I think this is all new to me after I came on board.
Yeah.
But I mean, to me, it was just here's an interesting thing that was named after my cat. Now, what a great vehicle to learn something other than through something that somebody established under my. But it actually took a lot of asking around. But there's so many of these letters.
I love it. Sorry. Before I hate to interrupt you here. I love that you saw something happening that I presume was dear to you. It saw as a way to learn something, right? So many people would have been fuck this shit. What's this? It's a scam. No, you didn't. You approached it with a very open heart, open mind stuff, and you learn. And I feel as a result, you learned way more, right, than probably could have. Right?
But even in that, I mean, the number of times that I had to hop online to videos to convince people, because most people, when you as I've learned in the Web3 space, there's a lot of distrust. You go in there and you say, my name is Steve Chen, I'm the co-founder of YouTube, and I'm curious to know what's behind the Pajamas token. Nobody believed me, right? Nobody thought that the founder of YouTube would have any interest in this. And when I started responding at the time on Twitter, my account wasn't verified. So they're like, this guy's just one of many. But why was I even asking one of many? What does that mean? I guess this happens all the time. But I think after I get into the field, then I started really just thinking that this, again, coming back to what we were talking about earlier, right? Is that you see from my perspective with the early days of YouTube, I didn't see it as just an amateur video site, but I saw it as potentially having a globally world-changing aspect of what it's going to do in terms of how people consume media, create media. I actually saw this and I just wanted to get more and more into it.
I'm telling you, bro, it's like, you democratize video, right? I mean, now let's democratize money, Come on.
No, for sure. I mean, I think video money is like kind of a whole another
we have to do this, bro. I'm telling you, you have to do this, man. I mean, whatever. No, I'm telling you, man. I'm pitching you right now, not live, whatever, on video right now, right? That on
YouTube right now, maybe.
Yeah, probably. But it's fine. You were such a big part of like democratizing video. And I feel like you're right. I feel like your instincts are correct, right? That we are really at the cusp. We're very early, right? At UGM.
But
right,
interesting enough, I don't know if people know, but before, the reason that I met the co-founder of YouTube, Chad, was I met him on the first day that I moved to Silicon Valley back in 1999 when I joined the other startup, which was PayPal at the time. And even back then, PayPal was very new in terms of being able to, quote unquote, democratize your wallet, democratize the way that you pay back somebody after you loan them money, right? But then I think that's leaps and bounds compared to where we are today with Web3. So, I mean, I think all of it is still coming full circle, and that's always been my interest.
It's really funny because, like, when things start happening, right, people often don't see the potential of it, right? They often judge, it's not possible that things catch up to where they are, right?
Yeah.
I'll give two examples right now. Recently, on Instagram and YouTube, now there's so many like short form videos.
Yeah.
They're so good, by the way, right? So I read a comment that was actually really good. Someone was commenting on the video, right? They said, "Oh, SNL and these things are so shit right now. They're terrible, right? Budgets are being cut.
Yeah.
You guys should just take over that shit."
Yeah.
I was like, wow, it's actually really interesting, right? It's true. It's like this short form video creators and stuff.
Yeah.
The quality is like legitimately like better SNL.
Yeah.
Right, like way better, by the way. It's much more culturally relevant. It's funnier. It has better reach. Like way more views, right?
And it's the democratization of it, right? Because ultimately, it's going to be the view count. It's going to be votes by the viewers, and it depends on who the viewers want to see.
And cultural resonance, right? Like how much you resonate culturally, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's actually really, really important. In some sense, I feel like think about it, right? It's like people always like in the early days of crypto, right? So okay. So for me, I consider crypto as a category, UGM.
Yeah.
Right. I think whether it's Bitcoin or Memecoins, they're all considered like user-generated money, right? Because it's not money that's generated by the government, right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. People have this crazy thing they go, they say, fiat is better than Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Or because of fiat or whatever. Right? Then I'm like, dude, it doesn't work that way, man. Now, let's just take two things right now. Let's take two examples. Say USD and Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, obviously USD is more established and been around longer and stuff.
Yes.
And you can argue that USD is a more established of money, right? Than Bitcoin. Let's take another fiat example. Zimbabwe dollars. You know what I'm saying? Right? Zimbabwe dollar is fiat too.
Yeah.
Right? But would you rather Zimbabwe or North Korean money or Bitcoin? Obviously Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And same thing for like a lot of these tokens around, right? So I feel like for me, it's actually really important to understand that, okay, whether it's fiat or Bitcoin or a lot of the asset classes or gold, they fall under the category of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And to take a really liberal view on it, and go like, cool, all right, so and do it appreciate, right? It's just like I feel like it's just like how you can appreciate like top tier Hollywood content, Avatar. You can appreciate like some random video that someone made, right? You can appreciate all the range of content out there.
Yeah.
You can also appreciate all the range of money out there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I feel like, but I got this thing. But I feel like for some reason, money is a lot more like triggering for people than content. Right? You get, this is money, it's not money and stuff, right? Things like that, So how do you see it? Yeah.
No, exactly the same way, right? Because in some ways, like, I thought we've already reached the end goal when I was leaving PayPal and then we took over. I think there's the actual utility and the technology and the product itself. But once you create a P2P payment service like PayPal, you still need the rationale for people to adopt it. And for PayPal at the time, it was eBay. And eBay back in those days, in 1999, 2000, when you were buying something and winning something off of an auction service, you were still sending paper checks, right? Now, forget just US dollar and you needing to go to the bank account, but you're still sending a paper check and you're still mailing something in the mail. A week later, you get the check and then somebody goes and cashes the check. Then they finally, so at least the payment service was able to make that faster. Now, it didn't solve, there's still plenty of variables out there that actually remained unresolved, plenty of conflicts and challenges, right? But it resolved one of the issues, and that was the mass adoption in terms of the eBay as a payment service under that platform. But I think that the interesting about YouTube is now, like, it really comes down to the raw entertainment value of this media content, and it democratized it how in that anybody in the world is on the same page. They all have the same access to that same upload button. And so you see what I love about YouTube and what it's able to do in terms of what it's done in the last 15, 20 years that it's demonstrated is that you used to be watching something on, say, cable television. And even if you have an idea for wanting to do it, it still required knowing the right people and jumping through so many hoops to be able to get to that level where you're on TV. Now, you yourself can hit that upload button and you yourself within 5 minutes can know, no, there is more talent than just being able to upload this upload button, right? And so I think like that's a great aspect of it. I mean, as we're even, talking about just the access to the equipment, access to the upload buttons, the channels, that has all been democratized. Now it just comes down to the raw talent of the people. And in a way, that's where it really shines in the Web3 world to me, is like, where can we take this thing? And I think there's still hurdles and hoops along the way, but I think that ultimately
everything worth doing is hard.
But the end goal, finish
So,
line.
I mean, do the same thing, right? I mean, like, I talking to you is actually amazing because I really see like very strong parallels in UGC and UGM.
Yes.
I mean, okay, honestly, I think previously, if you want to create money, you need to assemble an army, conquer a place, arm the whole thing, get everyone to use your thing, convince everyone is the best kind of money. I mean, like what the Genghis can do. But they do pretty hard things to create money, right? It was pretty rough.
Yes. Yes.
Right. They're saying, right, and then you have to create, or you have to be Mother Nature and create a completely provably scarce resource called gold.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that that if there was ever something called golden goose, gold would be useless, right? All right. Okay, but sorry, but I think
no, it's a very good point that you made there, right? Because I think that there's a certain point in which I think PayPal reached it thought its finish line in terms of just payment to payment service, but it's still always on just US dollar, right? But I think it's amazing but the amount of steps just to even create PayPal much further than that. Right?
I actually love the idea of Memecoins, right? Because, I mean, okay, just take Jupe, for example. I did Jupiter, right? People love Jupiter, people love the token, Jupe token, whatever, right? But it was a lot of fucking work. Man, it was a lot of fucking work, man. It was like years and years and years of work, creating the infra, creating the team, creating a community, setting up this, building a traction. So it was a lot of work to get to the point, right? But with Memecoins, it's different, right? Memecoins, you get an idea out there, enough people resonate with the idea, right? Enough people resonate with the idea and stuff, and you rally enough forces behind it. And all you need was seriously just the enough people to believe in the idea.
Yeah.
Right. And it has the potential.
Yeah.
To be money.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And I find it to be amazing. I really think that this kind of democratization.
Yeah.
Right, of like money creation. Right. Is frankly astonishing for me. A lot of people say that crypto has no use case. Right. I mean, to me, the use case of crypto is really obvious. The use case for crypto, right, is creating new monies.
Yeah.
That's it, right? Has always been obvious, right? Whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Jupe, Memecoins, it's all about creating new forms of money, right? And everything that we see, right, whether it is like the ability, everything we see, whether around transferring, right, around like the whole industry we're seeing and stuff, it's all offshoot of that capability. Right, it's because like crypto has the ability to create new monies.
Yeah.
Right. Then we create everything on top of it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I find that to be frankly astonishing. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But I would say, what do you think? I mean, in terms of the target market, I think one of the biggest hurdles is for people to be able to trust and adopt this as a platform, to be able to really trust Web3, right?
Welcome, sir.
I mean,
no. I'm serious, bro. This is what builds trust. I'm not kidding. I mean, like we can talk about that in theory all we want, right? But it doesn't matter. This is what we trust, bro.
Yeah, because I think I think still everybody that's truly in the Web3 world, you guys are all early adopters. You guys are still considered early adopters.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. No. We are we. Start saying we.
I mean, and it's been around for a long time, but we are in an early adopter phase.
Not long time, bro. It's we are only about now, right? Starting to understand the potential UGM.
Exactly.
Right?
I mean, I still feel like. This is my thought, is that it's still, I think, it's been able to demonstrate what's possible on this platform, but it's still rewinding the clock to the early days of, say, YouTube, when you know that you can upload a video and you know you can watch it. It works, the technology works. But for people to actually be really saying, I'm going to be willing to spend an hour, 2 hours of my day creating content or watching content on this platform, that's a whole new thing, especially when you start getting the mass audiences in there. And I think that just from my experience in the last 2-3 months, I love thinking about it from putting myself in the shoes of the potential user, for the potential consumer that's still not using this technology. How do you get them to adopt this technology? How do you get them to feel, to be trusting this technology?
Yeah, and the great thing is that honestly, my honest answer is that it's a group effort, right? What I love for the crypto industry is that we all have this goal. And I really don't see it happening in any other industry. We have one industry of people, right? Who are just so interested in making that happen.
Yeah.
Right. And this is part of it, right? Think about it, right? When audiences, right, see me talking to you, right? They go, oh wow, the YouTube founder is talking to Meow, right? And Meow is talking to founder. Right, and we are talking about how the early stage, how UGM mirror UGC. Right. I think it's a big deal for people, right? To kind of see that, right? And then similarly, I think we have a lot of we're going to have all this. I think I was telling you earlier, right? I think the reason why I think crypto is inevitable, right? It's just because all over the world and across the entire stack. Right. It's like a 2x2 thing, right? Across the entire world, across the entire stack. Right, the entire stack being a technology stack, marketing stack, finance stack, education stack, content stack, regulation stack. All these people who are extremely incentivized, and passionate, right, about advancing it forward, right. And then when you have so many people, who are ideologically inclined, economically aligned, right, and also and socially, and because we have real social networks now, as you can tell. Right, it's like we are forming really robust social networks, right? And then our entire reputations, right, are built on this space, right? So it's like it's just the whole thing just lines up, right? It's like I feel like what crypto is happening now is that we are becoming this entire we're just moving forward, I just don't see what happen.
Yeah, and I think it's just it's the right time. 2024 has been like the right time to enter this market.
Why did you say so? Yeah.
Because to me, I think there's a lot of curiosity out there, right? And for me, I think it's again, I'm coming back from that Web 2 for 15 years in Silicon Valley, that experience of okay, what are the things that people think that technology can do, the web can do, and it's proven itself in a lot of ways. So many things that we're used to doing on our internet, on our iPhones nowadays, it was created before some of the kids were born. So they've grown up, this whole new generation has grown up with this. But I think that in terms of the Web3 space, there's still, I still think that this is the next thing, but I do think that it requires the same kind of, I think the entrepreneurship, the ideas, the actual solutions, the startups, to be able to merge the two together. I think it's just the sum of the parts is actually greater in the ways that we could collaborate together. And I was excited to be able to meet you in person because I think there's just gonna be more, like bridges that are being created, more people that are interested in doing something in Web3 that don't know the market, and then there are people that are in the Web3 market that could, I think, benefit from the experiences and challenges and problems that we've solved in Web2. If there are ways to be able to do more collaboration, I think ultimately the end goal is to be able to get mass adoption.
Can I say one thing though? Can we not divide the world Web2 and Web3 and stuff? I think we're all about democratization, right? I think we're all about democratization. To be very clear, by the way, right? The democratization of money that we're talking about now would not be possible if not for the democratization of content. Right? We were both part of that crazy boom, right? Of we were both in the valley when the crazy boom happened, right? The Facebook boom, Twitter boom happened, right? Or even everything and stuff and IM instant messaging, right? Obviously,
before that,
group chats. Group chats wasn't really a thing, right? But I tell you, the entire actual industry runs on group chat, right? Telegram, even the way we chat, right? Right? The entire Web3 industry runs on Telegram chats and to a certain and Twitter, right? That's pretty much it, right? And to other extent, smaller things, but you know what I'm saying. So I think in many ways, I think we are really kind of getting to the point whereby, okay, we are on the, to me anyway, right? I think we are on the cusp of like really getting mainstream adoption, right? Right? I think for me, I think it happened like probably 3-4 years. That's what I think, and I could be wrong there, But I feel like there's actually a lot of like deep instinct, deep interest in it, Yeah. What's your instinct coming in?
No, because I think that I think first is the curiosity.
Yeah. What else?
And then beyond the curiosity, I think there's trust, right? I think like whether or not this is something that I should be curious about. And then there's the overall like self-commitment into it. But I think a lot of it is a communal thing rather than an individualistic thing. And then there are earlier movers, and then there are people that would want to be able to see that, okay, this has been a proven track record, be able to push this out there. To me, this is going to sound silly, but I still use like just my own family members, but specifically like my own mother, my own parents, as like a gauge of like whether or not they're adopting something and whether or not I need to explain more about what they're adopting. So it's one thing to be able to talk to them about certain technologies that are out there and platforms and apps when it comes to delivering food, delivering services, Amazon, YouTube, when it comes to instant messaging, because it's like, okay, download the app, I get it, right? And perhaps like apologies on trying to put it under one umbrella label of Web3. But when I want to tell them about how do I just get my mom to start thinking about how do you do your normal transactions that you conduct on a daily basis? How do I convince her that there's another alternative that's going to be looming that's on the technology? And to me, that's just to me the same reasons why I find Silicon Valley to be so interesting. It's like you're surrounded by a lot of people that are interested, entrepreneurs that are interested, potentially some investors that are interested in putting the risks out there to see whether or not technology, the next level of technology, is going to be able to solve these problems. And that's what's getting me interested in Pajamas. That's what's getting me interested in being able to meet you and talk to you and collaborate.
But let's hop back to Pajamas for a while, right? So I actually find it fascinating. I found the story of how you got involved in Pajamas fascinating. So let me talk to you for a while. I mean, you remember how you said that people were, oh, there's no way you're real, fuck you, anything, right? but let's just converse it. How did you start trusting that thing? You know what I'm saying? Like why didn't you just go, this is scam and just avoid it? Because most people in your shoes would be like, fuck you, this bullshit, Yeah. But instead, you actually had curiosity about it, and that's awesome. And why?
And it's a good question, right? I mean, I think that and I want to say, like, I wouldn't necessarily advise everybody to take this route, but I've always been a lot more open to just risky routes for the sake of taking chances and taking risks. But I mean, I think the opportunities are only to be had if you actually do follow these routes, right? And so I do think that for me, Web3 was like, what is possible out there? And I want to say, like, it was out of curiosity, out of anything else. It's like, I want to see what is possible with Web3. I want to see what is possible with this technology. That and once they started seeing stuff with Pajamas, I was like, okay, well, like, I could see that, like, that this is something that's truly changing the ecosystem of how all these things are actually conducted. And so, to me, like this has just been an experience for me to meet an entire group of people that maybe we have like a lot of similar social networks.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how many people we know in common. It's
but
crazy.
Then it's completely new.
It's crazy. It's like it's funny because I was going through with you like some of the, and you were good friends with all. It was hilarious, man. So it's crazy.
But a lot of them are actually, I mean, they're also co-investors. They're also thinking same thing. I mean, something is hot, something's boiling there. And to me, there was no better route than to be able to do it on hands-on with something like. So
when you first got involved as a community member, right, in Pajamas and stuff, right, and by the way, I just want to say a big kudos to you, right. I feel like one thing that I said previously, I'll repeat it for the camera, is that like I was actually really impressed like how you came to this space with open mind, right? You didn't come in going like, I want to build the next like $3 trillion startup, right? I'm going to build I'm going to or I want to be a guru, or I want to make a coin. I'm saying because I feel like, okay, I work with a lot of people, right? And then I feel like everyone tends to come in. I feel like everyone who is like, and that's the mistake they make, right? Everyone who is like famous outside the industry, they tend to come to the industry with three things, right? Either they go, I'm so smart, I know everything, or then hey, or like, I'm here to dominate, I'm here to build the next $1 trillion thing. right? Or I'm here to make a token, right? But you didn't know these three things. You know, you're like, let me learn, let me explore, let me be a community member, right? I can tell you firsthand, right? I can tell firsthand and stuff that a lot of people deeply appreciate that. As a community member of this like PAJAMAS thing and being involved in it, right? How would you? What have you learned so far? You know? Yeah.
No, I should actually say it's more like this. I mean, it's a very different world out there. I mean, I think that a lot of people were saying like, why join as just another community member when you can just start a token by yourself? Like, why are you spending all? Because I was putting in 40, 50, 60 hours. But I think there's a disconnect between the amount of time, the passion for something versus say just the monetary returns on something. And for me, this is purely out of this is the first time where I've gotten excited about something as I have been with something like YouTube. And that was 15 years ago. So in this 15-year time span, I've continued to try to do more startups in tech. But really, it was these last 3 months with PAJAMAS that got me really, really working and then looking at the clock and then it's like it's 3-4 a.m. already and it's time to go to sleep, right? But
wow, that's crazy.
But you have fun doing it, and it's like
So I have to stop you right here. What is the fun, right? Because I myself think it's fucking fun, right? But I'm finding it hard to describe. I'm finding it hard to describe what's fun about it, right? So I'm very curious to know what you find fun about it, you know?
And I'm gonna draw like the equivalent again to like I love it that like what YouTube has done was open up the ability for people that are creative to be able to utilize that creativity and to reach people with that creativity, to be able to even monetize and build a career out of that creativity. You go to like a 5th grade class and you go give one talk. The greatest thing is like you get a real audience, passionate clapping from 5th graders saying like they all want to be YouTubers when they grow up. And I think like in a way it's you doing what you love doing and being able to make a career out of it rather than just following something of a career path that's been predefined for you. And I think in some ways, like what I've seen with PAJAMAS is like, I log into Telegram and I have no idea where these people are actually from. We have to actually really start. But what brought us together, the actual core passions that we share is through a shared passion for PAJAMAS. And then you start to actually find out that these people are even more divided than what we saw. I thought Silicon Valley was divided.
What do you mean? Elaborate more.
Oh, sorry. I'm just saying from all over the world, right? When we were trying to figure out, the hardest part is trying to figure out like, well, should we do like a Telegram meeting at 5 p.m.? 5 p.m. what time? Pacific time?
Central time? Distributed. Yeah.
But it's even more distributed. In the US before, it was more like, okay, you guys are in Pacific time, Silicon Valley, and then some people are in Asia. So we got to just figure out. But this is really people from all over the world, from every time zone around the world.
I fucking love it.
And that is just, like what you said, it's just one level above anything that we've even seen with whatever I've seen with the mass adoption of 2 billion, 3 billion people.
I mean, it's so crazy because like I was telling you earlier, right? It's like I regularly do I regularly see and do and stuff, right? Like multi-million dollar deals and stuff, or with people that are just a group chat, right? We have this so here's the thing, right? I mean we know how closely tight, we know how tight the valley is, right?
Yeah.
It's like trust is the crazy thing is this, right? It's like what makes the value works is that there's a lot of trust.
Yeah.
Right, in the sense that the trust is built up on like years and decades, right, of experience, right, and sometimes the reputation is institutional, right, like Sequoia, Crown Pockets, right, they built up a certain level of institutional trust, right, you know what I'm saying, right, and then the individuals as well, right. So what we're seeing in crypto is the same thing, right, right, you have individuals, sometimes even a tender. But like GCR, or like handle and then just build up this track record, right, of being in the space, of doing stuff for a long time, right? Not that long, 3 years, right? Right, and then them as a result having the ability to like rally capital and rally, bestow influence, right? And again that is sometimes abused, by the way. We can talk more about that for a while, right? But there's this with this whole recent Memecoin thing. There's a lot of like under the table money, and Instagram, and it's kind of dark sometimes. I can talk more about it later, But I think, but for the sake of this conversation, let's focus on the bright side of things, right? I think what makes the value works, right? And people who are not in the valley might not know this, right? Is that you got this crazy network of dinners, private group chats, right? Like social networks, right? And then it like brand names. Right?
Every single night,
every single night. And some names and stuff are like maybe not as known to the public, but they're extremely influential, right? So I feel like it's similar in crypto, right? You know, saying, you know, we have this like network of trust, but it's different now. Because unlike the valley, whereby it's concentrated in one area, right? Literally, I mean, like you know, you just go to San Diego Road, right? You know what I'm saying, right? But now it's all over the world, right? It's fucking crazy, right? And I love that because I think you know, just I think the crypto has truly democratized, right, fundraising, you know, right, and expertise.
Yeah,
and
that's
it's
part.
really
That's part. Yeah.
crazy, you know.
And to me, like that's like to me, even that's the end goal of. I do think that it's important to bring out that like along the way, even in the last 3 months, this journey, it's not all been positives. But I look at the negatives as also like the reason to learn. I mean, the same thing as like I think it's great for everybody to go through this YouTube experience. Great, Silicon Valley startup successful. But it's also great for you to, for example, when we acquired Delicious from Yahoo, it was great to actually go through that experience of trying to think like in our heads, Chad and I, about here, we have a way to be able to restart this bookmarking, social bookmarking service that Yahoo purchased. We bought Delicious from Yahoo, and we thought we can make this ability to be able to have a socialized method of being able to do recommendations to related content. It didn't work out, but I'm so happy for that experience as well, for the failures, because of what you think that in your head versus what actually results. There's always still, this is after YouTube, we did Delicious, right? And so I still think that one of the greatest, I think, recognitions that I have to call out for the whole PAJAMAS team to actually give me the opportunity to join that community is the learning experience of not just of the days where it goes up by 25% in, but also the days where it comes down. And then it's just learning, well, it's not always an up market regardless of what you do.
I mean, the crazy thing I always say is people, right? It's like, I always say in interviews, right? Is that like, you know, like character and communities, right, you know, are not formed in the bull, you know, up times or down times, right? You know,
that's so true.
Everything is down. Yeah. Right. Everything will down at some point, right? And it gets me to the point of like the whole trusting, right? So here's my thesis, right? My thesis is this: every time something crashes, right? Every time something crashes, like Bitcoin, right? Just take Bitcoin for example, because Bitcoin is the best example, right? Every time Bitcoin crashes and stuff, right? But everyone said, oh, it's a scam, crypto's a scam. But it survives. Yeah. Right? You know? And then it crashes again. And it just goes again. So every cycle, new converts get formed. Yeah. Because they go, oh, I'm wrong. As a result, I missed out on this thing. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So I feel like that is the thing that, so I think that is how we eventually convince everybody, right? You know, that's how eventually, I think that's how I think eventually UGM wins. UGM eventually wins, right? Hey, you know what, like, wow, I was wrong, right? Yeah. So I feel like that's how it eventually will work, you know, right? Like, I was wrong, you know, like this thing is actually not that fake, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that I think that's absolutely right in terms of like everything. I mean, the entire Silicon Valley route has not always been up and down. There's always been a number of dot-com crashes, right? And so like it takes a lot of effort to be able to convince people to really readopt completely new technologies.
People have this crazy idea that Valley is just like this like crazy ass like success story. No, the Valley is like 90%, 99% failure, man. It's crazy, right? Yeah. It's like, but what's crazy is that every time it's actually here's the crazy thing. What I find, and that's the reason why I think I'm so optimistic about crypto, right? Because it's like people tend to look at the ones that fail, right? And they go, oh, it's a scam, it doesn't work. No. But if you look at what happens, well, if you look at successful creative ecosystems, right? What they do is that they're just insane recycling mechanism, right? It's like, okay, as long as it failed correctly, right? You know, no problem, easy. Go next. And I mean, you and me both know, right? Who are the absolute best people to hire? X startups who did make it. Yes, right? They're the fucking best. Amazing, fucking amazing. Because they have all technical talent, they can solve things by themselves, but they're humble enough. Right, and it's just fucking crazy, right? So, you know what I'm saying? It's insane.
And the lessons learned,
I mean, how the fuck can you teach a new person how to fail? You can't do that, right? So it's like, and say crypto, right? It's like, hey, what you see is you see this, right? Now, as long as someone failed the right way, right? AKA that he didn't, he failed ethically, right? I'm saying that means he did all the right things, you know, like all the right things, you know, whatever not, you know, but the thing you work out, it's fine, no problem. Yeah. No problem at all, right? You know, come join me. Come do this again, right? I feel like in crypto, I feel like the crypto industry is just like worldwide. You know, it's almost like a world. To me, it really feels like a worldwide like representation of the Valley in some sense, right? It's actually really interesting. You really have the same dynamic energy.
That's a great way to put it, because that's what I've seen it as well. It's like, instead of still amidst all the glowing spotlight that Silicon Valley gets, I think what I'm seeing when I'm on Telegram and talking to the community, talking to the people that are really, really committed and passionate about this, it's on a whole new level, right? And so to be able to, and a whole new level in the sense that like, the first questions on most of these Telegram calls is like, what time is it where you're at, right? It's like people are coming from all over the world.
Amazing.
And I think like that to me is like so cool. And so I think like as long as that passion is there to be able to resolve these issues, these hurdles are gonna be overcome.
It's so amazing to say that because like, that reminds me of another good parallel example. One huge reason why the value succeeds is because like, it just attracts the best people.
Yeah.
From all over the world.
Yeah.
Right. And why do they come to the valley? Because it's actually where the opportunities are, right? Where the talent is, where the network is, right? Where the capital is, obviously, right? Right? Same in crypto. I think crypto is like attracting, like, and the barriers to entry is so much lower. There's no O1 visa, H1 visa.
Yeah.
Right? Just a fucking Telegram chat.
Yeah.
Right? It's amazing because I'm telling you, like for me, I as someone who runs Jupiter is the biggest DAO in crypto, right? Right? And there's one thing, man, it's not that difficult to join crypto as DAO, join the DAO. It just need to be awesome. Just hop in Jupiter, Discord, and be awesome, right? It's kind of interesting to think about it, right? It's like the barriers to like being involved is so fucking low.
Yep. Yeah.
Even you join.
But I think it's always like, I'm always looking at the side of like, how do you continue to expand this, right? Like, I don't know, like in terms of like prioritization, to me, it's like, how do you continue to be able to expand this? How do I get my 10 friends to be able to join? How do I get them to also get 10 other people? What's the utility to it? And to me, that's like what keeps me up at night, to be able to think like, this is what I'm passionate about, because I think that like all the right pieces are here. It's just trying to figure out what the solution to this puzzle is.
What if I propose that this is gonna be like thousands of solutions, just everyone just tackling it in their own way, Yeah.
Oh no, definitely. I think like, and I think like there are issues and challenges upon every layer as you continue to kind of go up, right? I mean, I think it's been proven that it can work.
I feel like what's fascinating to me anyway, right? Is like, for example, if I go to say South America, right? Dude, recently I went to Ecuador, right? So I was doing a service there. And then I needed to prepay the provider.
Yeah.
Right. I think 300 or 500 USD, whatever. Right. And dude, it was crazy painful, man. You have no idea.
Yes.
Holy shit. That was crazy painful, right? Trying to get through that and then trying to get through a service, Western Union or that. And it wasn't even fees. I didn't even mind paying fees, right?
Yeah.
I was like, let me just put a credit card in and be done with it. It was so hard. It was impossible, right? Even then, that company has such a big mistrust of like crypto. Mm-hmm. Right, you know what I'm saying? So like, but it was very obvious to me that crypto can solve your problem. You know what I'm saying? Like crypto can totally solve your problem. You know what I'm saying? Right.
But then let me ask you this. This is more towards your camp, which is, why hasn't it solved it yet?
I can tell you right now, right? Because the trust issue, right? It's so many things. There's trust issue. There's a trust issue. There's an infrastructure issue. There's a liquidity issue, right? There's a social issue, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, right? No, because for example, it's like, so there's the social issue, right? For example, can they do their friends trust it, right?
Right.
Well, if their friends don't trust it and stuff, they won't trust it, right? You know what I'm saying, right? The second is liquidity. The second is liquidity, right? Like, is there enough liquidity that goes from A to B? Like the transfer issue, right? And then there's also like and there's also like the acceptance issue. So there's actually a number of, but once I show it to them, I went to and then they figured out how to do it. It's actually awesome.
Yes,
but the conversion rate is still very expensive though, right? Getting it. So I get that's why stablecoins are so powerful, right? Because stablecoins are stable, right?
Yeah.
So there's also the fact that like they thought that it's gonna be very volatile, but they don't know what stablecoins.
Yeah.
For example, right? Things like that. So I feel like there's actually a lot of things that But I'm saying that I feel like. But that's actually very interesting because I realized that it's going to be impossible for me to solve that problem with them. Not possible. What you would need is that you would need a native team, right? The native people there to really adopt it and drive it. Right? You need people who speak a language, talk a language, and everything, right? To actually do that, right?
Yeah.
It's not my thing. You know what I'm saying? I can facilitate that, I can encourage that, but it's like ultimately not my thing. Right? So I feel like that's actually one really interesting thing, to observe. Yeah.
Well, like for example, like like I don't know if the community knows, but I think it is still important to talk about like where you geographically, physically live, right? And I think that what started off as like a 6-month to 1-year adventure of living abroad in Asia, bringing the family out there and just settling out there to see what it was
Taiwan,
like.
right?
Because
Taiwan.
of COVID, yeah,
Taiwan.
we ended up moving out to Taiwan in 2019. It's originally for a year. And it was kind of doing some remodel here in Silicon Valley and in the house here. But then, of course, like once COVID struck out there, it wasn't handled as well as the schools here, and then it was handled pretty well in Taiwan in terms of schools not letting out. There was like a 1-week period where the students had to stay at home, but as soon as that week ended, everybody was back in school. So it wasn't doing Zoom classes, and everybody was friendly out there, and I thought that was a great experience. But then I think that as I started committing my time out there, I started figuring out like, wow, there's actually a lot of untapped potential when it comes to the technology. It's tapped in somewhere in the hardware and the semiconductor side, things like maybe TSMC, some of the highest end semiconductors are made in Taiwan, but they often say like, well, what is so special about Silicon Valley? But one of the things that I think that I'm pretty passionate about trying to do these days is, are there ways to be able to bridge together and forget just Taiwan? There are actually plenty of other places outside of Taiwan and Silicon Valley that has competitive edges compared to Silicon Valley when it comes to maybe individual talent, when it comes to maybe VC money, when it comes to individual contributors, resources, whatever it is that you want, or even ideas themselves, right? And so when I was out there in Taiwan, we decided to stay out there. We're still out there now, 5 years later. But I've still what's passionate about me is to be able to see if there are ways to be able to create the next unicorn or the next set of unicorns from outside of Silicon Valley, but really creating the bridges to Silicon Valley so you can still do it from Silicon Valley resources, but being able to do globalizing that Silicon Valley and bringing it to the rest of the world.
It's actually really interesting because I mean, dude, like the whole topic of Silicon Valley and VCs and stuff is such a long topic, you know, right? I'm not sure you get it now. What is your main takeaway, right? Like, what's your takeaway from these things, you know? Yeah, what's the takeaway? Yeah, it's like in terms of the whole Memecoin, crypto, everything. What's the takeaway?
I think the takeaway is that so far what I've seen is what's made possible with it in terms of, again, from the currency standpoint, from a transactional standpoint, from a monetary financial standpoint, there creates an entire huge foundation that's actually been created out there. And the technology has been proven to work.
Define the foundation.
Well, even technology has been proven to work in that I can actually trust it sometimes more than some of the central banks out there. Like, I can actually trust the technology because I can see the source code behind it, right? I can see what the algorithms behind it, and I can see that like every single one of the transactions, what's crazy. Actually really happening out there. And that's open source, and I can see that stuff. But I still think that what's interesting that's the interesting part. But I keep saying the but part, which is how do you make this, there's still a large gap between the technology and making it consumer adoptable. And I think that that's the area where I think, like, again, coming from background of creating videos and being able to create this platform for videos for watching, like, are there ways that I can take any of these learnings and make this platform more adoptable? And I think that there's something there. And then I think the best part in it for me,
what do you think it is?
Well, the best part in it for me has been like taking just notes as to like and I hinted at this earlier, which was like the problems that I've ran into. Say, for example, the fraud problems that I've ran into, and like that I've ran into myself. And what better way to be able to have a good experience of what the problems that people, new consumers, new adopters of this new technology can face than facing it yourself and actually going through these challenges yourself, right?
Like for example, I'll give you an example. I think, for example, any token out there right now that you launch is gonna have like 5 like fake ones. Right, and what is real anyway, right? Okay, the funny thing, for example, right, like Nasdaq, right? Say Nasdaq control, like Nasdaq the company control Nasdaq, right? You know, so you can say, okay, there's only one GOG, right? You know, right, or whatever, right? There's only one ABC alphabet, right? You know, there's only one, Facebook, right? IB, right? But in the and even for centralized, because so for long term. Binance or whoever, started the central exchanges, were the ones that determine who was the real ETH, right? You know, who was the real BTC.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if Binance could, for example, remember Bitcoin Cash?
Yeah.
Bitcoin. Yeah. I mean, it was actually really interesting because like whenever a fork happened, right, the centralized exchanges actually has a lot of power.
Yeah.
Right, to say, okay, this is the real BTC. This
Yeah.
is the fake one, right? Just the name. So who owns the BTC name, right? So actually, so that power obviously shifted from the government to like the exchanges to now central exchanges, and in the decentralized world, right? Because there's no real centralized party, right? So whoever kind of gets to say this is like the real like token.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big deal in some sense, you know? Yeah.
No, but it's happened and it's been successfully happening. It's crossed that finish line. I mean, when I was growing up, you just trusted proprietary software, proprietary hardware. But now you start open sourcing. If you start opening the hardware designs and the software designs behind the stuff, right? And you know what, everything that's going behind it, there's the caveat and compromises. Of course, you're actually opening up the source code to everything that you're seeing. So if there are bugs in there, everybody can see it. If there are issues in there, everybody can see it. But at the same time, when you cross that threshold, everybody can see it, and then you just have 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 more pairs of eyes looking at that same network, making sure that everything that's happening within this network is correct.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. You know how meme coins are launched these days, right?
Yeah.
It's like theoretically, and in crypto there's this like silver thing, right? It's like there's no identity.
Yeah.
Per se, like any one person can spin up like thousands of wallets
Yes.
and stuff and be thousands of people. Right, you know, and kind of like create thousands of transactions in a very different way.
Yeah.
Right, and it's called the SIBO problem, right? You know,
Yeah.
So it's so funny because like, you know, I think what's actually really interesting here is like we do live in a world whereby like you know, anyone can because the identity thing is removed from it.
Yeah.
Right, you know, and so anyone can pretend or be anyone, completely right? It can YouTube, can be identity. They can spin up a bot on Twitter. They can transact, like, so they can do all kinds of stuff. And that's actually a really interesting thing because you know, because you can pretend to be a very successful project with thousands of holders.
Yeah.
Right, you know, when quite simply it's just one bot and I'm pretty sure out there someone has created a bot to be able to spin out thousands of accounts and stuff and do a lot of shit.
There's out there, yeah. And
It's out there, someone's out there. Yeah.
And to me, like these are, it's going to be ultimately the driver between. I think any new technology that needs to be adopted is going to face these issues, as we've seen in Web 1, Web 2, as we continue to see. But I think that ultimately the end goal is always going to be better for the rest of the world once these are resolved. And the whole reason
I like that.
I mean, the whole reason that I'm still like that passionate about this is that I think that that's what, to me, what a startup is supposed to do. It's supposed to identify issues to be able to make it more convenient and optimize what we need on a daily basis. And as a startup, if you can come up with the solutions to these problems, you're going to get greater adoption, depending on the metrics that you're going to measure by. You're going to get greater adoption. And then ultimately, you're going to convince your fellow citizen that this is something that you too can use, and this is going to make things easier for you. But I mean, I think like the reason that I'm still in it, is that I still think that there are issues to be worked out, right? It's not like it's time to walk out because everything's already been resolved.
I think I love that. It's kind of like the optimistic. It's almost like the optimistic view of technology, right? And evolution, right? It's like, okay, things are going to work out and stuff, and there will be this quote unquote both. Okay, it's partly Darwinian, right? It's partly Darwinian, but also groups that collaborate the best. Like humans, right? You know, humans manage to collaborate together really, really well. You know, as a result, we as a group, right? You know, we survived against other things.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I feel like crypto is gonna go through that as well. It's like it's gonna be this thing where you know, we are gonna collaborate together. We're gonna filter out the bad players. We're going to figure out technologies and systems and whatever not. And then get better. You know what I'm saying? No? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a part of evolution, right? And I mean, things do go extinct during evolution. I think that's the whole reason about trying new things, identifying the problems and being honest about it, being humble about it, and don't pretend like they don't exist. But actually proposing and really trying out the solutions. And that to me is like the reason that I'm in it, is trying out these solutions. But I honestly, to be honest with people, it's like, I can't guarantee that this is all going to work and this is going to be the future. But I think that I personally believe it, right?
I can guarantee it. I think I can't guarantee what I do is my future, but I guarantee this is the future. I'm that optimistic in it. So Steve, what's up for you next in this space? Like I mean, how are you thinking about it? I mean, like, you know, I personally I love that you as the pioneer of UGC is getting involved in UGM. Right, you know, so what are you thinking? Like what's on your roadmap, you know?
Well, no, I think like even just to be honest with you, like an afternoon like this, to be able to meet somebody that's at the core of defining and pushing what's on the frontiers of what's coming in the UGM world, right? I think to me, like this is like this is the sort of the pinnacle of what I get into this to be able to meet and to be able to talk to other people like this. I think it's like for many people that when I talk about having this conversation with you, they're saying like the opportunity to be able to talk to you something is just amazing and it's incredible. What are you going to ask him? What are you going to actually talk about? And to me, it's actually really, I consider myself in this world completely new. And what I can bring in is what I learned from the Web 2 world, and much of that is actually probably not even applicable to this. But what I want to learn.
I think it's completely applicable. I think what the more we talk about this now, the more I go, holy shit! It's the path is like parallel, bro. It's like the same. It's almost like it makes my mind blown because I realized, wow, holy shit! Honestly, bro, I'm scared now. I'm scared now, actually. Because life is already crazy enough right now. I'm not even kidding. Life is already fucking insane for me right now, right? And to think about, wow, when UGM gets the same authority with UGC, right? It's going to be so insane, man. I don't know how N is going to keep up, man, you know?
Well, I think like...
how to keep up, you know?
But the speed in which things are executing, that's the... I mean, so to me, I think it's like leaving completely the doors open, being curious about it, meeting more people like you, and being able to see if there are ways that I can play a role in the same way that I played in Web 2. Are there ways that I can do something in this world?
Yeah, for sure, 100%. So it's actually really interesting that you mentioned that. Another question, I think that's something that I think a lot of people will be interested in. What do you find interesting about being a community member, right? Because in the startup world, for example, right, in the startup world, it's actually a really interesting thing that I want to talk to you about because very few people get it. You know what I'm saying? No? In a startup, it's based on equity. You join a startup for salary, for equity, right? And the equity is like given to you, right, by the company, right? And then and you have a defined role that you play, right? So and it's a very centralized way of incentive alignment.
Yeah.
Someone joins YouTube, you are a guy, you say, okay, this is your salary, this is your role, you do this thing, you know, this amount of percent you get, right? Even as a creator, you come in and stuff, you do this thing, whatever, right? And you get this amount of revenue share between YouTube and whatever, right?
Yeah.
But in this like, you know, like UGM world and stuff, it's actually very different, right? It's like, you see people really spending insane amounts of time and effort and stuff that is like, maybe at some point it might be financially rewarding for them, right? But not really. You might not know. They don't really know, right? You know, if there is like, I mean, I'm part of several communities, like the Zero community, you know, like many other communities that the people really invest like crazy and what's time in, you know? And then it's like, and then I mean, me too, but I invest a lot of time and effort, right, in something too, you know, that is not necessarily money based, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk there for a while. How do you think and why do you think incentive in these communities work? You know, is it
No, it's a good question as to why, because I'm also trying to figure that out myself. But I would actually concur with you and echo that what I've been surprised and what's actually this cyclical feed back to me to continue to want to work more on it is that the community is so driven and so passionate about this. Like there are people that are talented in individual contributing roles that they're playing on PAJAMAS that are actually doing spending a lot of time as if this is like their startup project from all over the world, right? And then when we get together and talk about it, the passion that you actually feel from even something where you can't see who they are, that everybody's actually anonymous, but you can see the passion, you can see the amount of work that they're actually putting in there. And so to me, that's like the part is like all of a sudden you have people from all over the world that is glued together, that is connected together, that is joined together by this one cause, right? And
the cause is so funny because that cause is literally an idea or a symbol, right?
Yes.
Think about it. It's just a fucking insane thing. It's like what I find amazing is this, right? It's like a pure idea or symbol, right?
Yeah.
It's enough to align people. It's an interesting thing about it. Think about it. It's interesting.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think like it's it's not that different than like I think depending on the management styles. But when I was the CTO running YouTube on a daily basis, I still acknowledge to everyone on the engineering team that look, if you're the systems architect behind the project, you have 20 plus years of experience dealing with scaling out scaling out data centers and traveling to all these and doing all the actual installations. You have much more experience than me. If you're going to have an idea about how we can better scale out more efficiently, more effectively what YouTube does on the back end, I'm going to listen to you. And it's the same thing I think in the network chats that we have when we're talking amongst the community, it's like, I feel like I can say like, sure, I have whatever feedback that I can offer from my experiences, I'm happy to offer. But at the same time, there's so many people in there that are so passionate that have much more experience in this world than I do. And it's just, I think, give and take in the same way that I've gotten from the Web 2 world.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing here is that I think I think there's actually a really big like talent distribution. I still find amazing that okay, so so I recently have been talking through a number of things, right? Oh, it's funny. CTO.
Yeah.
In valid terms, CTO means
Chief Technical Officer.
Officer.
Yeah.
Right. In Memecoin world, everybody versus CTO is completely different. What is it?
A community takeover. So it's been easy for me to remember the two between PAJAMAS and between YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you mind explaining to people what a CTO is?
Yeah, so
community takeover is?
For the community takeover, yeah, because it's exactly what happened with PAJAMAS.
Yeah, but
right?
What is it? Explain to people. What is it? Yeah.
So when I joined PAJAMAS, the question was like, what was this thing? And the next question is like, who created this?
Yes, precisely. Yes.
Right. And the idea of the community takeover is that the creators, the founders behind this has already long left. And then the community themselves have taken enough belief and commitment into believing that this token, there's something in it. And it could be different for many reasons, but they've come together and they've said, we together as a community can fulfill all the empty holes that have been left aside by the founders, the co-founders of this leaving. And that's the community takeover. And that's been the great experience for me to be part of that team, because really to be able to see the essence of what's going on behind the scenes has been the best learning experience.
Yeah, seriously, it's so different from if you're the founder, right? It's so different, right? Because because if you're the founder of PAJAMAS and stuff, which you could have been, right? It's a different because now you're the center, right? You have been the center. But now it's a CTO, so you are not the center. You are like a community member.
Yes.
Right? And it's fucking insane. Here's the thing. What's crazy to me is that the recent coins happen and stuff like Billy, Ritadio, they're really good ones. They're all CTOs. There's a lot of CTOs that become successful. You know what I'm saying? Right? That is like and I find it to be very impressive,
I think, and to me, like, I think that this is this is all part of like the learning example.
Like the hat thing. There's a CTO as well.
The dogs and stuff. I mean, just pets and animals, man, all of this is like a learning experience to me.
But is it amazing coming from the highly structured, highly founder, like the Valley is very founder centric, right? The Valley is very like founder centric and very VC centric, right? In Singapore, right? And
very like meeting centric, schedule centric, calendar centric, everything. Yes, yeah.
Meeting, yeah, like physical centric, trust centric, everything, right? Like it's all about like three things. The Valley is founder centric, VC centric, institutional centric. Right? It's all about like brand names and stuff, right? Brand names like Google and Facebook. Like you like for example, like you came from Facebook, as the company, blah, and but in this kind of like context, it's very, very different. It's really, really about the people, right? And then it's so funny because like theoretically speaking, you could pay 200 people or 50 people to be passionate, but you can't. I think what's actually fascinating to me, right, is that you cannot pay. Like there's no way I can pay like 50 people, right, to be passionate about something. You can't. Isn't it crazy? You can't, because like and it's so obvious, right? It's so obvious to the world. You know how as humans, right? We have this gut instinct for sincerity.
Yeah.
Right. We can't know when someone is talking to us whether we can trust them or not, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's sincere or not sincere, right? We as humans have built out this like almost like trust.
Yeah.
Right, and I'm saying for like an instinct, right, for like whether someone is like good or bad or fake or not, right? Right? I feel like it's actually very similar in this case, right? I feel like communities that have a lot of like sincere people, somehow shows, Whereas a community we have a lot of people who are like not sincere and out to get you and stuff, I think is obvious as well.
I mean, even like just all the apps that I had to download as soon as I wanted to just be get into this community, right? I mean, everything. I mean, even with like Telegram, it's my most used app now, but it wasn't something that was installed on my computer 3 months ago, right? But I still think that like I still keep.
Is your most used app now? Maybe?
It's probably that in Chrome or something, but YouTube's got to be up there as well. But Telegram, like I still keep myself as like just an open person that's willing to talk to people that are new. And I think there's always a bit of like the first few minutes of the conversation is always a bit of like just question, almost interrogation about trusting, about like, are you really who you are? And there's been, that was learned the hard way when I was too trusting, when I was just automatically assuming that whoever this guy claims he is.
Oh, really? Do you mind sharing some stories? No?
Well, like, I mean, there are people that are saying that they're doing certain interviews for certain people. There are people that are saying, look, I'm just trying to actually buy a certain percentage of certain tokens for PAJAMAS, and I know that you have some, can you actually do this? And here's just my wallet ID. And then you find out that this wallet ID doesn't really match. And things like that, like I think it's just been a great learning experience in which I think that, again, always putting myself in the shoes of other people and saying like, if other people, I consider myself to be pretty technologically savvy, at least in sort of on the consumer compared to the average consumer. But I do know that like there are still a lot of areas where there are caveats that you just need to be careful for. And I think it makes sense for me to jot these down whenever I encounter one of these issues to see whether or not other people that are entering this market, that's not surveying everything, that's not matching, hex code by hex code, every single thing in their signature to make sure that everything is correct in the wallet.
It's so rough these days. I feel like, I mean, it comes to territory, right? When you democratize money, you democratize like money transfers, right? You no longer need like the approval of like 20 different banks and things to do money transfers, right? Anyone can create a money transfer software, right? It's rough. Like it's actually very rough. Like, I think the number of pitfalls and hazards and issues for a new user is nasty, bro. It's so rough.
So, I mean, it's also been, I mean, in some ways, it's never been more convenient to be able to send $100,000 to somebody, right? But then I think like that's part of like identifying that, and just to be forward with it is like, I think it makes sense to be able to, as soon as something happens to me in these cases, I actually acknowledge it and tell the community, tell the PAJAMAS team, the PAJAMAS community, or even like just the Twitter followers or something like, this is something that's happened. And like these are the issues that I don't want to pretend and hide it and be secretive about it, but rather be open about it so we can actually, as a community, figure out ways to be able to solve this together.
I think it's great. I feel like whatever problems you're facing now is actually probably, it's so good talking to you because like I've been in this space for a while, right? So I kind of like, a lot of things are kind of second nature to me. Like creating a wallet, like figuring out like contract addresses and everything. It's like second nature to me, right? Like, of course, it's a contract address, of course, right? But if I go way back, like before I got everything started, like what the fuck is all this, right? It's actually really, really, really daunting, Yeah.
But then, okay, like I think like just very much like even this afternoon here, right? It's been a rewarding experience, but I want to say like this wouldn't have been possible if there was some kind of seeds of just trust that were planted between us, just to be able to say, okay, I think like whatever's going to happen, like I'm willing to take that minimal amount of risk in order to be able to get the reward, to be able to sit down with you and to learn this.
For sure, 100%. What you just said, I think is actually really, really good advice for like anybody who wants to come to this space, right? Whether it's a trader or investor or builder, right? It's like, be optimistically cautious.
Yes, perfect.
Be optimistically open, right? It's like, you have to go into situations assuming it will work out.
Yes.
Right? But also be careful. But if you're too careful and you assume that everything's a scam, you won't make it, you won't learn. But then if you just go, hey, everybody has a private key, and then you die very early, right? But okay, I feel like here's the thing. You know how as parents, right? Like I mean, you are adult, I'm adult, right? We clearly survived.
Yeah.
The multiple things that we could have died in. We could have fell off a cliff, we could have fell off the building. Sure. Right, we could have, we could have a whole pot of like boiling water over us. We survive all these things, right? And the way we survive all these things because like our parents and society have built enough safeguards, right?
Yeah.
We built like rails on the window, right? And second, then we touch things that are hot and go, it's hot. Oh, this is hot. We learn what's hot. Yeah. Right. So I feel like we as society is is like a baby.
Yeah.
You know, a small child, you know, like going through the world right now. You know, we are like learning that roads are dangerous.
Yes.
We are learning that we need to follow the lay. We're saying that, oh wow, I fell off the sofa. It hurts.
Yeah.
Right? Or fell off the bed, it hurts. I cry for a while, but okay, I get it now, right? If I fall from things, it hurts.
Yeah.
Right? I'm saying, wow, holy shit, if I fall from the building, it's gonna hurt really bad. Right? So we start learning these things, right? And saying, so I feel like we as society, we are, as we enter this brave new world of like user-generated money,
Yeah.
we are also, in some sense, like learning lessons, right? You know, like just like how a baby or a toddler, right, or a child might navigate the world, you know.
But I want to further amend that, like the very fact that you're still here and you are seen as kind of an iconic figure and you are still continuing to come up with pretty innovative new methods and new solutions to adopt this. I think that goes to show that you are committed, right? And you've already said that you're committed in the long term. You may not be the one that comes up with the solution, but the long-term solution you believe in is the sure. I think like that shows that you haven't given up. And I think to me, that's the same thing as like, I can't be 100% confident that I absolutely know, but the very fact that I'm spending the time on it means like, I think that there's something here and I'd love to work.
I love it. I love that how like, and I swear to God, you have no fucking idea how much people appreciate that. You didn't come to in this space, guns blazing, right? You just didn't just come here, I'm just going, I have a token, or I have this $1 billion idea, you know, or I have this like, or listen to me, I'm a guru. But it's as a student, right? So that I feel like that's actually the mindset I come to the work every day, right? I'm like, okay, honestly, bro, I'm telling you, man, it's like every time I thought I know anything, I'm wrong, right? I tweeted this just recently. I said, unlike other fast-moving industries, right, crypto is the only industry whereby your base reality changes every single few weeks, right? Okay, for example, say you're moving in a very fast industry, like SaaS software, right? You know, or even social media, right? It's like the industry moves extremely fast, the trends change very quickly and stuff, but it doesn't feel like your reality is changing. For crypto, because the very heart of crypto is money, right? Yeah. And money and value is at the heart of our existence every day, right? And every single day, my understanding of what constitutes money and value just changes. Yeah. Full stop. Yeah. Just get blown away. Even something very simple, like the fact that the year token, that the Donald Trump got shot, and the year token pumped, right? And recently and stuff like, you know, like Biden announced he's like he's stepping down from the election a few hours ago, right? The Biden token dropped, crazy, right? I'm like, holy shit, there you go, right? That has to do something for your understanding, right? Because like there's nothing tying the Biden token to anything. It's not like a Biden wins, people buy no, but it's just the idea of it, right? So it's crazy because like the moment the Biden dropped down, the Biden, it's funny, Biden, there's two tokens, there's two meme coins on Solana, right? There's this Tramp token and the Biden token, right? And it's almost like the market have automatically deduced that because Biden is stepping down, therefore the Biden token, which have nothing to do with Biden, right, is gonna tank. Yeah. Right. And to that effect, right? To the effect and stuff. You get what I'm saying? It's very, very interesting, right? And not just that. Also for example, right? Recently there's this
Well, actually, just one thing is I think ultimately the truth sayer is the market. The honest, what actually determines who's going to be right and what theories are right. It's going to be the actual market price. And so for something like this, I think there's really two categories of founders that seem that they have all the ideas right, that they know exactly what the right solution is, and any attempts to alter that, they correct it to be based on their vision, versus the ones that are really more adaptable, more humble, and really ready to listen, and actually ready to be able to say that, like, as much experience that I have in this market, I can be completely wrong with what I do. And I think that is the important part.
Dude, I'm telling you, bro, it's like this industry humble you so fast, man. This industry humble you so fast, man. This industry humbles you so fast, bro. I'm not even kidding, bro. Holy shit. I keep saying this, right? It's like whether you're a trader or you're an investor or you're a builder or you're a speculator, whatever, right? You want to build your foundations of humility, right? Like you really have to, because like and learning, because like this space just changes so fast, man. It's like it's crazy. It's like your like capital, like for example, right? It's like just a few months ago. Right, it's like, you know, some guy said, hey, you know what, I'm doing a coin. Yeah. Here's a address, send me the tokens here. That's it. That's it. And $20-30 million went there.
Yeah.
I mean, like, as a value person, you know, how hard is it for someone to raise 20 million?
Yeah.
You know that stuff.
Yeah.
Insanely hard. Really
Insanely
crazy hard.
Yeah.
Like crazy hard. Like for and we're talking about the value. It's a fundraising capital in the world, right? Like it's funny because we were talking about this 2 days ago, right? We were saying that how like a person that raises like value, like for example a person that raises like 10 million the value, right, versus like raising in Taiwan or Singapore is a very different ballgame, right?
Yes.
But the value, in crypto,
yet in another world.
and compared to very competitive world, right? You can like when there's enough like hype or trust or something, like someone can just post an address and say, hey, send money here, bang, 20 million flows in.
Yeah.
It's insane. I mean, don't forget other people. If you today, you want to say, hey, contract, lots of people just send money to you. It's crazy, right? It's like, so I feel like it's really a whole different world of like understanding capital, understanding value formation, understanding communities, and understanding like and understanding like how networks get formed and everything and stuff, right? I think it's kind of instant, you know, right? Yeah.
But seeing what you, I mean, to me, like I stand when I talk about being humble. It's actually, especially in this space, looking at leaders like you that have actually, in most definitions, you've made it, right? And you've actually been able to create something that through your very ideas, you've been able to transform. And the hardest part is transforming the idea into something that's practical, downloadable, applicable, usable. And you've been able to do that. And so like, for me, like that's the real value for me, is to be able to have that experience with you, to be able to like, just learn like, okay, like what were you thinking, but almost more importantly, like what were some of the things that you were thinking that ended up not being right? Just as much, because it's more obvious the things that were being right.
I'm like for one and stuff, the explosion in Memecoins completely caught me surprised. I mean, not completely. I think even as early as last year and stuff, I was like very supportive of Memecoins, right?
Yeah.
You know? But what was actually absolutely stunning to me, right, is the velocity. It used to be really, really, really hard for even a token to gain like significant valuations.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, bro?
Yeah.
Right? Now every day there's a token that pops to 100 million, right? And goes and about that goes to zero very fast, right? Obviously, yeah. But what you're really seeing is that you're seeing that extremely rapid rotation of capital and attention, right? A lot of the attention is number based. That means the number goes up, then goes up and stuff, and also like, and how that attention sometimes translate to real communities, and sometimes it doesn't translate to real communities, right? You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's actually, to me, I was caught by surprise by that. I certainly didn't expect the rotation to be so fast. You know, like the everyday rotation. I mean, think about it, it's crazy rotation, right? Like every day, like you have 10,000 tokens created and stuff, 100 of them get some traction, 1 of them can't make it and stuff, and the very next day, that second resets.
Yeah.
Right? The resets, that literally all the capital just goes to next coin. Right? The 1 year was a year token because Donald Trump got shot, and next year and next year because some guy got some token pumped. So that outsprung, so the capital rotates to that token rotates to all that to related tokens that category, right, and so on and so forth, right. So I think for me it's like, for me I'm not just the two, bro. I'm doing now. I'm actually doing this thing about I'm actually doing this thing, and you can join me for some of them if you want, because I think it could be interesting for you, right? But I'm actually going to do some spaces with people who the communities, right? So I got this thing. So that's something I learned. I was caught by surprise. Yeah. Right. You know that how fast the rotation was. Right? Even the infrastructure part of it. I'll give an example. It's like, you know, so Jupyter we do routing, right? And then we maintain this thing that indexes our tokens, all the markers and stuff. Yep. Right. And we have to kind of like, you know, append them into our indexing system, right? And then we do a lot of like tricks and hacks to make it fast. Yeah. Right. But then we totally weren't ready, right? And we're doing really well and stuff for like 300 tokens a day, right? Yeah. And then we weren't ready for 10,000 tokens a day, 20,000 tokens a day. Yeah. We just weren't ready for that. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, and as a result, we were caught back-footed for like a couple of months. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And a couple of months is pretty expensive these days. Right. You know, but I'll tell you that. So I wouldn't say, and the surprising thing for me is that it wasn't even I was caught flat-footed. I knew that it was a good thing, right? Yeah. But the speed of which, man.
Yeah.
The speed is insane.
Well,
Right.
here's like a case where, like, again, we're doing this, chat here in the middle of Silicon Valley, right? And I think that there's so much interest in the technology side of things, but then I think it's always about consumer adoption. It's about trying to actually get the application. How do we actually get this out there, right? And I think that for me, it's even just within my own network, just to be able to talk about to be able to say that I'm interested in this field. I see that there's a lot of potential in this field, but I think to me, one of the things that I want to be able to do is to be able to explain in a better way why I can get more partners that I had in my field, my experience from the last 10 years to join me in this.
Can I propose something completely outrageous to you?
Yeah.
Forget it. I'm telling you, forget it. I feel like you should just forget the whole thing. I think you should just be I'll pitch to you, right? I pitch to you something different. Why don't you just get a lot more people who are already interested to join you? And then you know what? When your friends here in the valley sees how much fun you are having to join you, right? I feel like that's much better. So then you don't convince anyone. Just do your thing, right? It's much more fun, right? Also, okay, I'm telling you, bro. Okay, one really, really important thing here, right, is that, and I love it. Again, I feel like we have this connection between UGC and UGM, right?
Of course.
What's really interesting is that you are not approaching this from a technology point of view, right? You're also not approaching this from a trader point of view, right? But honestly, I feel like if you approach this whole thing, okay, I'm going to say something pretty outrageous, and don't hate me for it, right? But I actually feel like if you approach this from either a technology point of view, right, or a trader point of view, you're missing the point. Imagine if you approach the idea of content looking from a server point of view.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, the server the bandwidth and the server facilitate that stuff. But it's not the essence of it, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same. So I think it's the same thing here, right? It's like the essence of this movement is not the technology, right? The essence of what we're seeing now is a deep desire for people to create assets, right? Be part of a symbol.
Yeah.
And drive it forward, right? And I think that's I think that's the essence of it. So I feel like by coming to this space, not going like, how do I build? Okay, because right now there's not by coming to this space and not going from a technology point of view. Look, I mean, we all know what happens, right? It's like everyone is trying to create the next blockchain.
Yeah.
Right? I'm saying the next scalable thing, whatever, right? And everyone is trying to say, how do I make the next $1,000 plate, $1,000X plate, right? But I feel like all those are kind of missing the point, right? No, let me take back. It's important for sure, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like you are approaching it from the right. I feel like approaching it from say, hey, what is really at the heart of growth? What is really at the heart of driving this deep? Because the communities, let's just, I mean, as we get to the end of this conversation, right? Let's just go one back full circle.
Yeah.
To what we started.
Yeah.
Right? The community, in UGC, the creators create the value. Here, the communities create the value.
Yep.
Ultimately, it's not a technology. Ultimately, it is the and what you're doing, and what this is saying here, right? We're seeing communities create and that's the security and community over, right? And I'm saying like the communities are the one that creates the value, right? And which is why I think you are starting the perfect point, because you are not starting. I mean, dude, you know the tech better than you did so much stuff at YouTube and like you know tech as well as anybody else, right? But you're not coming from a tech angle, right? Investor angle. I mean, of course, you know the VC world, investing world amazingly well, so, right? But I love it because you're not coming in this thing from a tech angle or the investing angle, right? You're coming from the community angle, right? And I argue that's the perfect place to start, because the community is what creates the value.
Yeah.
Not the. I mean, like you can have all tech in the world and stuff. You can have all the investors in the world, but ultimately, the community creates the value.
And in a certain way, yeah. Like I think that the technology has reached. The reason that I've entered is I believe the technology is. There is technology in there.
Oh, it's 100% sure.
But it's sufficient enough that now is the time to really think about how to be able to take. There's one thing of a value stamp on the technology itself, but when that technology is adopted as the vehicle and the engine behind a real service, that's when the real value is added.
Yeah, it's like YouTube, right? I mean, like the the many like extra bandwidth that someone laid out. You remember that boom, the cable laying boom?
Yeah,
right?
no, because
that was important. It's like if we as a society didn't overinvest in all those cables, right?
well, like I think the biggest
you know?
early decision that YouTube was able to convince the investors was the internet going to be bandwidth reliable enough, right? Was it going to be big enough? And I think that was the technology. But after that, then it becomes, okay, where's the idea?
Precisely, like UGC became possible, right? Because the infra, like the technical infra was there, right? And UGM is now possible, right? Because the infra is there, right? It's reliable enough, right? You can actually send money around. You can actually send Memecoins around, send money around. Like, you can have the like we talk about Memecoin stuff, but the truth is that Memecoins are built on layers of stuff, right? The blockchain, like you need blockchains, you need DeFi, you need AMM, right? You need wallets, you need you need fiat on-ramps, right? It's like you need this entire stack of infrastructure, right, to be able to make Memecoins. Right? So I feel like. So
2024 is a good year to get in, just like the time that I get into YouTube, right? And
for
the
sure,
technology
100%,
is in place. Now it's about, to me, like it's about meeting with people, like you just to have like a coffee conversation.
I mean, you know what? And then we are reaching this conversation. I mean, like it's the same thing, right? Like, dude, you democratize video, right? Let's work on democratizing money.
Let's do that.
Let's do that. All right, it's good.
Let's do that, man.
All right, can do one thing? Can do a meow thing? Can you do a meow thing?
Yeah. What?
Okay, you do this. Meow.
All right, let's do it.
Meow. Hey, pretty good.
Let's do it again.
Hey,
meow.
Hey, pretty good. Hey, now look at camera. That's good. Look at that. Okay. Meow.
Third time's the charm.
Third charm. Okay. All right. It's super fun, man. It's so fun. Yeah.
Thanks for making it out here. Thanks for making it out here. I mean,
cool.
I know you have a lot of places to stay when you're in Silicon Valley, so thanks for coming over here.
No. I mean, dude, I'm telling you, the parallels between UGC and UGM are fascinating, man. I'm telling you, it's like it really. I feel like the more I talk to you and stuff, the more I'm convinced that like we are so early. We are just right at the point of explosion where the masses realize they have the power to create. Like just like how when YouTube was started and stuff, it was like people realized that the power to start creating content that reach millions and billions, right? We're at the same point now. We're at the point whereby people realize that they have the power to create money, right? That's as good as anything else. And it's so powerful, bro. Think about it. Think of how powerful it is.
Bro. I mean, I think like few people know this, right? I mean, like when we were like when we were first creating YouTube, we never thought that we should create a service that's for all videos. So we had to choose, just because we just thought like it was impossible to be able to transform an entire platform infrastructure for video distribution. So we said, okay, we're just gonna make it for dating videos only. And then of course, like a week goes by, 0 videos get uploaded onto YouTube. And we said, okay, well, let's open it up. Let's, and we were competing in Google at the time, Google Video at the time. So let's open it up. And I think that I would have never still expected that 20 years later, my own kids will be using it. And it's the most popular app that they're using.
Question. How does it feel to have your kids watch YouTube? Like, I'm curious. How does it feel? Like does it feel
it's like a bit of a mixture sometimes, because I always thought like, one, the first time, when I have to actually tell them, go to sleep and put down daddy's app, from your phone. It's time to go to sleep. Awesome. But then it's like kind of like a question of like, thank you for using this, but can you please put this down? But I mean, I think that
thanks for being a user. Can you stop using it?
But it's crazy because how big it's grown from where we are. And I really think that that's what gets me excited. And I was telling you, nothing in the last 15 years since creating YouTube has gotten me this excited than, talking with folks like you and then being part of the PAJAMAS community.
It's so amazing. It's so amazing. And you know what? One day it might go like, hey, you know what? Why don't you send daddy's money? Not daddy's USD, like daddy's money, the money that daddy's created. Or you can be like, hey, why don't you create your money? And then like, I'm serious, right? Serious. Like, I honestly, bro, I'm telling you, I really think it can happen. I really think that, like, how like everyone has TikTok and YouTube nowadays? Like everyone IG and TikTok and stuff. I'm telling you, bro. I think that at some point we are gonna have billions of monies, right? Like billions of monies, right? Anyone can create their own money and stuff, and it's a liquid asset. Some are more valuable than others and stuff, right? Right? I really think it's happening. I think we are headed to a world of like billions of chains and billions of tokens and billions of markets. Right?
And That's why I think like the parallels is like it's not completely new in terms of the product technology is new to me, but in terms of that being able to take something as an idea and to be able to transform it so it's widely adopted by the entire world, that's the cool driver behind everything that I do.
It's a cool driver, and then I think on my end and stuff, I think what's actually really important for me is I feel like the way I think about it is that I feel like it's a bit Zenish, but like okay, I don't overthink it. I just think of myself as a student, as an advocate. And then, as someone who tries to be useful, for this community, I feel like that's actually a healthy thing because I think in this industry, there's a lot of extractive tendencies.
Yeah.
To go like, okay, let me just see how much I can take out of the ecosystem. I think that there's this thing that I call PPP. You know PvP games like Counter-Strike?
Yeah.
PvP is Counter-Strike. You kill each other, right?
Yeah.
You bang, bang, bang. I feel like you can play crypto in a PvP way, right? Where you go like, okay, I'm just gonna try to see who I can get as a liquidity.
Yeah.
Right, who I can, what places like what community can join, I pump it up, and then I sell it, as it, right? But I feel like it's actually much more meaningful to approach crypto in a way whereby it's PPP, right? Player pump player.
Yeah.
Right? But okay, like it's all about how do I in the PvP context, the last player loses.
Yeah.
Right. In the PPP context, the last player wins.
Yeah.
We're trying to pump the last player, right? So I feel like so my mission now is to kind of like play the game, but if it's a PvP game, it's finite.
Yeah.
Right? Because how many suckers can you get at the end, right? But if you play a game as a PvP game, right? It's an infinite game.
Yeah.
Right? Because the last guy always wins and last guy always tries to lose,
Yeah.
right? Crypto is a garden,
Yeah.
And like okay, if you have the right ingredients stuff, like you can actually really make something amazing out of dirt, right? Yeah. And I feel like that I think that's actually the opportunity you have now, right? We can turn all the raw the garden that you have here, beautiful garden, right? It turns raw things like soil and sunlight and seeds into a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Right? So for me, and how do we turn bits and bytes and human energy
Yeah.
and into something beautiful?
Yeah.
And I think that's amazing. Yeah.